Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Caitlin. And go ahead and take it away.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. So today we're going to talk about the importance of language. I think this is a topic that sometimes we overlook how important and valuable it is, or how to speak with children, because we just take it for granted that we are talking and children are starting to understand us more as they get older. So I just wanted to talk about a few things that may help guide us through parenting and working with young children. Our words have meaning. From the moment infants are born, even prenatally, they are learning language and what it means. This language is body language, oral language. They learn what we say influences others. We can explain things and choose to stay calm, or we can show anger. Our tone of voice and the volume changes the message we're verbalizing and how children will respond. As adults in the room, we're modeling language and how it's used, as well as how we respond to different situations. So every moment we're with children is an opportunity to expose them to language. Some easy ways or ways to begin doing this are just describing what you're doing. I'm going to change your diaper now. You could describe experiences. This leaf is smooth, or oh, something about lunch. Lunch is hot. Having a conversation. Are you hungry? And then waiting to hear a response. This even includes hearing sounds from infants who are not yet speaking. The importance of this is hearing that back and forth. So even from birth, infants are learning how conversation works, the back and forth of it, that it involves two people, and how to communicate with others. So some examples of what we can, how we use language with children. I think oftentimes we find ourselves when working with children, especially when we're frustrated, we're quick to just say the first thing that comes out of our mouth without really thinking about the meaning behind it. Something we hear a lot, maybe use your words with a child who is 2 years old. We know they have a lot of language and they're using a lot of vocabulary that they may not have had even a few months earlier. But the problem with a phrase like this would be that if a child had the words to use, they would use them. We need to remember that language is still new to children. So is applying the proper words in proper situations, especially when the child is stressed out or tired, or worried. So in those situations, it's so much harder for children even to use vocabulary words you've heard them use before, come up with the right phrases to use. They don't know yet what they're trying to say in that moment. So instead, as the parents or the adult in the room, we could say something like, I see you would like the cookie, or I see you would like that toy truck. Help the child to identify their emotions by labeling them. So if a child is upset, you could say, I see that you're frustrated. I see that you're crying over this, or I see that you'd like the truck that their friend has. So really labeling everything so that they start to put the vocabulary word with the emotion that they're feeling. Some more examples would be, rather than using phrases like, can you, are you ready to, do you want to? Oftentimes this gets us parents into trouble, these phrases, because we're asking a question as if we're giving a child a choice. When in fact we really are not giving them a choice, we want them to make a certain decision. So instead we want to make a statement to the child instead of a question in these situations. You need to, or it is time to brush your teeth, or it is time to try using the toilet. So when it's a moment that as parents, we want to get a certain result, or it's a non-negotiable time, you have to do this now, you can still say it in a polite way, but make it a statement rather than making it such as a question where they can give us the response, no. Rather than making assumptions about a situation or placing blame, we can state our observations. So this is really important when you, especially when you don't see the full situation. This happens a lot when I have my two children together. It's often, they're in the room playing and something happened, and then I come in because I hear someone, getting upset. So you can say, I see two children want the same toy, or I see you look very upset. So make a statement of what you're seeing, rather than, even if in your mind, it may always be, if you have two children, the older child should have known better, or it's always a certain child, taking away from maybe a younger sibling. But that's not always the situation. So if you didn't see the full thing, we don't want a child to always be accused of it, because then they start to really fulfill that prophecy. They'll start taking it because they know they're going to be blamed anyway. So a nicer way to approach a situation that's more effective would be to make an observation of what we see. I see that you both want that stuffed animal. So keep in mind not to use non-judgmental statements, and it even helps to have the children help you solve the problem. So if you have, two children who are having a conflict, you can say, what do you think we can do now? Or I see you both want the same toy. What do you think we can do to help this? This really helps the child to start to think through the process, and really gives them the chance to start to learn how to work through conflict. That doesn't mean the first time that you ask them, what do you think you can do? A child may not have a response. But knowing that they may be heard and that they have a say in this or can express their feelings really helps develop their confidence, self-esteem, and the knowledge that they will be able to, that they're being heard and they will be able to eventually solve situations like this or conflicts. So always making sure that they are a part of it. And then you can even give a suggestion of what to do. So if you offer them the chance and they can't come up with an idea yet, then you can offer suggestion. But many times, after a little bit, children are actually able to come up with a really nice solution that works. Some other phrases you can use, something like, tell me about your painting. Rather than tell me about the picture of your dog. So using language in a way that children can take advantage of responding with more information to us, leaving it more open-ended, but also not labeling. This has gotten me into trouble before with my own children. If they come home with a painting from school, I'm not quite sure what it is yet, and then I make the assumption that it is a dog or cow, and then they're like, that's not what my painting is. As a parent, that gets me into trouble. But if you say, tell me about your painting, or tell me more about this, it shows that you're enthused to hear more about it. You want them to share with you, but you don't need to know exactly what it is yet. But that gives them so much more to describe. They can describe the whole picture or a story from school. Using phrases like, tell me about what happened, or help me to understand, rather than why did you hit him? So oftentimes we may have a situation, the first thing we think of, because as a parent, we're upset when we witness something happen. So we get right into the blame game, kind of, or accusing them. Why did you hit him? But another way to get the full story or to understand the child or what their thought process is tell me about what happened. Give me more information about it. Let's work through this together. Many times these young children have conflict. An example with the hitting, that's a very fast response to a situation that they're frustrated about. So at that age, at 2.5 years old, they don't have enough of the skills yet to come up with another way to communicate with another child in the situation. So by helping them talk through the situation and start to give them these skills and the language to use, that's how they get stronger at this. They learn to do it. Oftentimes we don't witness the start of a disagreement between children. So by asking rather than assuming, we also allow for the children to take responsibilities for their actions. At the same time, we're not placing blame on any one child. How can I help? That's a great phrase to use. Really in any situation, whether it's in a disagreement or you see a child frustrated, trying to work on something at home with a puzzle, any activity, or at the playground, they're trying to, maybe they're trying to do climb higher on a climbing structure and you see them struggling. But before stepping in to physically help, you can verbally say, how can I help? Or would you like some help? I'm still giving them the responsibility, the freedom. You're not taking anything from them in that situation, but using the language to help guide if they should need it. You're letting them know you're there for them. Using encouragement. Oh, that's okay. Sorry. Okay. Praise. Okay. Oftentimes we use praise. Praise trains children to depend on constant feedback regarding what a great job they're doing. This breaks down rather than builds a child's self-esteem. Praise trains children to ask, do you like it? Or did I do a good job? Children begin to believe that what others think is more important than what they think about their choices, actions, and accomplishments and mistakes. Praise jeopardizes the child's ability to develop their own internal compass to guide the decision-making process. The message children receive from praise is, I approve of you when you have a success, and I do not approve of you when, you aren't able to accomplish a task. Living with this kind of constant judgment can damage not only the child's confidence, but also the relationship you have with them. So some problems with praise are that the praise focuses on the perfection rather than the progress and improvement. So rather than the steps taken to get to the final product. Praise focuses on a right or wrong outcome rather than a meaningful experience. Good or bad decisions rather than the decision-making process. And pride or disappointment rather than acceptance and support. So we really have to keep in mind, especially with our youngest children, they're still learning everything. The world is new to them. And they still need to learn all the stages and steps to complete everything. Their job, their role as a child is to make mistakes and then to learn from them. Their children aren't born mature, they develop into a mature human being. And that's through this growth and learning. So rather than praise, what can we do? We can use encouragement. Encouragement can be given at any time to anyone in any situation. It's an observation, an acknowledgement, and a statement that focuses on effort, improvement, or choice. And it helps promote self-esteem and a sense of well-being, confidence, insight, and resilience. So some examples of praise versus encouragement, because it's kind of hard when you're first thinking about how do they compare? When am I using praise and how do I make that encouragement instead? So rather than saying, good job carrying that pitcher of water, you didn't spill, you could say something like, you worked hard carrying that pitcher across the room. So it's not about completing the task or that they made it across without spilling or they were successful at it, but the effort, you're acknowledging the effort that they put into trying it. And it didn't matter, there may have been spills along the way, but each time they try, they're going to become more and more successful. So we want to encourage them trying and putting in the effort to maybe take slower steps, to be walking slower, to hold it with two hands rather than one. So they're learning how to do that. Using encouragement helps children to create the internal framework for themselves, to self-assess their lives, their choices, their attitudes, actions, and behaviors. It helps children to figure out what's important to them, which will make it possible for others to create a satisfying and meaningful adult life. And it teaches children to spend less time asking the outside world to measure their worth as people. So this is a short, it's just 2 minutes, a TED talk it's Jess No, and she is a child, but she is going to share with us how she feels of praise versus encouragement.
I have once read a book about a man called Nick Vujicic. The book was about the difficulties he faced in life as he had no limbs. He recalled that in his school days, he was often laughed and teased at. One day, he was laughed at by 12 kids. They commented about Nick with rude words. Nick was very discouraged by the rude words and thought to himself, if I am bullied one more time, I will end my life. Soon, a girl walked up to him, but instead of laughing and teasing, the girl said, you can do it. You look great today, Nick. And Nick was encouraged to overcome his adversities. That opened my eyes to how important encouragement is. The girl who encouraged Nick saved his life, and she didn't even know it. One small piece of encouragement was stronger than 10 rude comments. And this is why I would like to talk about why everyone deserves to be encouraged. Did you know encouragement is more effective than praise? In fact, too much praise can even lower a person's self-esteem. Carol Black's research indicates that students who are praised for accomplishing tasks later chose easier tasks. These students did not want to risk making mistakes. On the other hand, students who were encouraged for their efforts later chose more challenging tasks when given choices. Focusing on effort and process rather than teacher approval and outcome is key. I have once participated in a storytelling competition. I was extremely nervous as it was my first time on stage. Some of you might be familiar with the sense of dread, heart pounding in your chest, stomach churning, breaking out in cold sweat. My parents who were observing me from the sidelines knew I was getting cold feet. They quickly made their way to me. Little did I know what they said next would become a defining moment in my life. It doesn't matter whether you win or lose, just do your best. Suddenly, I managed to shake off my nervousness and showed confidently on stage. Delivered what I practiced countless times and went home the trophy in hand. The stream of praises that was showered upon me made me feel good, but for only a moment deep down, I knew I wouldn't be on the receiving end of such praises if it hadn't been for the encouragement my parents had given me at a critical moment. Without the encouragement, I wouldn't have gotten the praise. Thank you.
Oops, sorry, let me screen share again. I got cut off.
That was great. I like that one a lot.
Sorry, one moment. Something happened. I lost my slide. But yeah, so we saw the such a difference in what comments of praise versus encouragement can be.
I think that's always, sometimes it's misunderstood in Montessori that, you know, we don't give rewards, which yes, but we celebrate children's successes with them, and that is a form of encouragement, that we feel happy when children have made accomplishments that they're proud of, and we share in that excitement. And so I think that the essence of that is something that is really nice in Montessori, that we can celebrate with them.
I'm sorry, my slides got lost. I only had one more slide, but I'm having a hard time pulling it up. So I'm going to.
I might be able to do it for you.
Okay, it's just one last slide, but I can discuss it too. It's just a couple phrases I wanted to share that I often hear or have used myself of different ways. So an example of what praise would be, and then something we can replace it with. So a word of encouragement. So one example would be of praise would be when you say, I'm so proud of you, or you are so smart, good job. Oh, you're too cute, or I like it. Because oftentimes, you know, a child will come to us and they're almost looking for recognition, maybe of something that they drew. So those are examples of praise, but how we can change how we are talking with them and make that praise a conversation with the child of encouragement would be, I appreciate your help, or you figured it out. You worked hard. You are capable, or you created that. So really just, it can be in all the same situations that we typically use praise, but being aware of the language we're using and trying to change those to words of encouragement so that children learn to, keep on working harder or keep at the tasks that they're trying to do. It's really about the process of anything that they do, not the final product. And just that they had that one success, because in life it will take them much further if they, have that grit and they keep on trying and don't give up. So that's a little summary of praise versus encouragement. So this was a quick kind of overview of language with, children, kind of the importance and how we can use it and switch our thinking or phrases that we use. Are there any questions or comments or anything that anyone would like, suggestions of phrases to use instead, or?
There was one thing that came up before, that some children seem to seek out feedback or approval more than other children do. If you have a child that you notice that is really wanting to know, like, did I do it right? Is it like, what do you think? They're really, really seeking that. How do you respond?
I love to turn it back on the child and say, what do you think about it? Tell me more about it. Really just having them say more about it. I would never say, inside, especially if my old child comes to me and I think this is something amazing. And, I've seen such steps in their development of something they're working on, but I kind of hold that inside and I just ask them to tell me more about it. I see you worked really hard on this. Can you tell me more about it? Or what steps did you take to do this? Or what colors do you use? Tell me more about it. I really like to turn it back onto the child to give me more information, because you start to see them light up with joy as they do describe it, and get excited to share their accomplishment as they realize, yeah, I did this, or I worked harder, or maybe before I was only using, crayons. Now I added crayons and markers and colored pencils to my drawing and have these different mediums, things like that. So I like to get more information from the child, so they show pride in their work.
Any other questions? Or any other specific issues that you might be having that you'd like some comments on?
Okay, I would say I'll just add a little something else is when talking with children. I love, especially in moments when you're frustrated as a parent, or you see the child is frustrated, one of the best skills that I've learned is really getting down at their level, bending down, even holding hands with them and talking so they know that, I'm seeing them, I'm hearing them, I'm listening. This helps even if I'm frustrated with my own child, because it helps me to calm down too, because I realize, they're not understanding everything, or I don't want to frighten them, which I think sometimes often, we do frighten our children if we change our tone or get loud all of a sudden. In those moments, many of them, when we look back at it, we didn't mean to, be that abrupt or loud or something. So I find it really puts me in check as I get down at their level, hold their hands, talk to them, look them in the eye. And then it's easier for me to listen to their responses also.
Mm-hmm. And I think along with the getting down to the level, sometimes with the way that you hold your hand, like if you hold your hands upright this way and you hold your hands out, almost always children, that's a pose that children will feel relaxed with and feel more open. And sometimes it's also offering an embrace, a hug. And sometimes I've asked children, would you like a hug? And it's really effective in helping to release that, knowing that they have a hug and it's like, and then they can feel, and if they're upset, they're more likely to then be able to communicate. And I think Anindra has a question.
Yeah, I do have a question. So, sometimes what I experience when the kids is really upset about something, I find it really hard to converse with my son Like he would just constantly screaming or just running around, and trying to trying to help him label his feelings become also challenging because he's not even listening. Do you have any advice on how do I bridge that situations into a condition of which I can like communicate and help him manage his or navigate his feelings?
Yeah. In those situations, when a child is very angry at the moment or running, that's not the time to do it if they can't calm down. Just like adults, they won't listen at that point, so they'll just so it'll be even less effective. So you have to wait until they are somehow get the energy out. Sometimes it's just changing the environment, depending on what the situation is, so that they can calm down. And then once they've calmed down, it doesn't need to be a very long, discussion about it, but you can say, you remember how, just before, this happened and, this upset me or something like that. You can say why it upset you, and you have a brief conversation about it then. And then you can still ask them then, how did you feel about it? Or something like that. Try to engage back with it, but don't place the blame, but say, this is how I felt about it. But do it once they're calm, because they also won't be then as afraid to approach a situation. If we do it when they're upset and, and their adrenaline is pumping, we get more upset, and then it just becomes kind of that back and forth between parent and child. So it won't be successful until everybody calms down. You don't want to wait till the next day, because by then they've forgotten about it. But you can give it some time until everyone's calmed down a little bit.
I see. Okay, thank you so much.
I would also say that for younger children, you want to use simple language and not talk a lot. I think as kids get older, you can have more conversation, but I think sometimes parents tend to sometimes talk a little bit too much, and then that becomes, they don't hear.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, thanks, Susan.
And it's okay to find some phrases that you kind of like, and keep on using those, because children do need to hear it more than once. Just short, like Susan said, short phrases or statements. It doesn't need to be long, but you will notice then they will start to repeat it back after some time. So first they'll be hearing it, you say it. The situations may occur again, but after a few times, then even when children witness it happening, then they'll know. And you may even hear them say that same phrase to another child to kind of help in the situation. But then they're starting to internalize it and they're starting to understand it.
I'll also make a pitch for another parent workshop that we have coming up. It's called Beyond Time Out. And it's by Dr. Beth Grosshans, and she wrote a book. And it gives step-by-step instruction and advice on helping your child's behavior, whether, many different things in terms of behavior. So let's see, what day is that on? I think it's on May 18th from 9 to 11. It will be at Riverside Montessori, and I'll be sending more information. I'll send out a bio about that as well. But if you can come to that, that's great. I'd love to have you. I don't know if Caitlin, I think she came to Twin Parks in the past. Were you a part of that?
Yeah, she's wonderful. I've been to a couple of her workshops. She's wonderful. And it's really helped not only when I was a teacher, but as a parent. It's a great, great workshop.
Good. Yeah. I think it's great because, a lot of times we know what to do, but having to revisit what are the step-by-steps that we need to take and why are we doing it helps to give us that resolve that we need as parents to do the right thing. And teachers. I think teachers and parents together, we're partners. So, okay, well, I did record this. So if you missed the first part of it, you can come back and take a look, and I'll be sending it out. I'll put it in the newsletter so you can link on it at any time and take a look again. So Caitlin, thanks so much. I love hearing your workshop. I could hear it again and again. It's wonderful. And I really appreciate you sharing that information with us.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.